I was living in Minnesota at a point in my career when I got like a fan letter from this person who was living in Vermont. And it was the very charming letter. It just won me over, and I went to visit her, and it was during the height of foliage season when Vermont is just truly mind-blowingly beautiful. And I was convinced that I was in love with this person. And I packed up my whole life in Minnesota, and I moved to this woman's house in Vermont. And it wasn't until a few months later when I realized we had absolutely nothing in common, that this had been sort of a mistake. Not the moving to Vermont part, that was right, but the relationship was wrong, and I stayed in Vermont. I moved 20 miles away and remained in Vermont because that was the place, that was what I had really been moved by.
Hello, my name is David Rakoff, and the state that I visited was Utah. What makes Utah unique is not just that those who settled it felt they could live here, but that they should live here. It was upon receiving the reports from his advance men of this paradoxical region of arable land hard by an inhospitable desert and a crop-killing inland sea that Brigham Young then received the divine revelation that this was the true land of the saints, topography as God-given destiny. And what topography? Standing at the squat commemorative obelisk, I try to conjure the mindset that beheld this vast, sere plain of brown dirt with the bare foothills rising in the distance and the far more forbidding gray snow-capped mountains rising farther beyond. How does one take all of this in and still think, yes, yes, I will go ever gaily forward. I will endure a pre-industrialized trek over hundreds of miles on a rocking, hard-slatted wagon bench or in a saddle or on foot. I will leave my children behind or watch them succumb to scarlet fever, rickets, or infection. On those special occasions when I do wipe my ass, it will be with leaves. I will have an abscessed molar extracted by some half-blind, drunk chuck wagon souse wielding a pair of rusty pliers, and I will employ my own just past Neolithic tools to make this railroad, this house, this town. And one fine day, with my remaining teeth, I will bite down on a leather strap while they amputate my leg without benefit of anesthesia, and then I will hobble 22 miles on foot, 1 foot, so that I might then climb the scaffold in Salt Lake City in order to carve a tribute to his glory into the unyielding granite escutcheon of the cathedral. How did they do it? The monks and abbots who hauled the rocks to build their monasteries on craggy Himalayan peaks and kept at it until the job was done. Ditto, the conquistadors who, even fueled with the promise of gold, saw those jagged stratospheric peaks of the Andes and didn't just say, oh, fuck this, I'm going back to Spain. It seems frankly remarkable that anyone anywhere ever attempted anything.
I have to confess, one of the odd things about being from Ohio is that I actually don't think I know it at all. I grew up there, my family still lives there, but we never really identified ourselves as Ohioans. I've been to Columbus once. I don't think I've ever been to Cincinnati. I never rolled on an Indian mound. I didn't do Ohio things. At summer camp, where the other girls were mostly from Connecticut and New York, I boasted that Sam Shepard, the osteopath who murdered his wife in the 60s and became the inspiration for The Fugitive, was from Ohio. To be honest, I also claimed quite insanely that my mother had dated him, and therefore she was almost sort of a murder victim herself. An effort to make myself a little more spectacular, I guess. It's important that there are myths and received knowledge about places, because you can't live everywhere. Even if you did, the more you know a place, the more the myths fracture, even if they're kind of true. The point is, I thought that having interesting, well-known criminals gave Ohio some panache, which I wanted very badly for it to have. I wanted so much to be from somewhere that had drama. Writing about a state is a sort of interesting, contrary project. They're sort of artificial in a sense, yet they have a character. Their character, when you look at it closely, falls apart because, of course, any individual in a place or any place contains complete contradiction of what it is that it's supposedly all about. The WPA Guide to Ohio is, in fact, line after line of equivocation when it comes to describing the state. The better residential sections of most cities in Ohio show examples of the Cape Cod cottage, English timber house, French farmhouse, Italian villa, Southern prototypes. and of numerous other styles. And, painfully, Ohio has never had a group of writers, such as the Hoosier School in Indianapolis. Its authors have usually followed the custom of escaping to the East as soon as possible. I'm offended. As writers, part of what you're charged with is trying to make bigger statements about things. The one thing about Ohio that I felt was funny is that everything that is the assumed is pretty much not true. I haven't completely given up on Dr. Shepard either. I still get excited when there's some legitimate excuse to talk about it. Media circus? Nothing could compare to the Sam Shepard trial. That took place in Cleveland. I no longer claim that my mother dated him, so progress has been made.